The quiet of space was shattered by a sudden, eerie transmission that blasted across every communication channel. The source was unmistakable: alien. The Zrax, an ancient and highly advanced race known for their ruthless conquests, had made their presence known in a way no one could ignore. Their voice was cold, commanding, and terrifying as it echoed across Earth's frequencies. "We are the Zrax." The voice boomed, chilling every listener to their core. "You, humanity, are an infection in the galaxy, a threat to our empire. Your existence is no longer acceptable. Surrender or face complete annihilation. We will not wait long." The transmission abruptly cut off, leaving a haunting silence in its wake. The message had been brief but powerful. The aliens made it clear: humanity had no choice but to surrender. The entire galaxy seemed to hold its breath as the words of the Zrax reverberated across every corner of space. Earth had been warned, but the question on everyone's mind was, would they bow to the demands, or would they fight? On Earth, the atmosphere was one of stunned disbelief. Governments scrambled to interpret the transmission, but no one could deny the harsh truth. It was a declaration of war. The Zrax had weapons capable of obliterating entire planets. They were advanced, ruthless, and they saw humanity as nothing more than a pest that needed to be eradicated. Earth's leaders convened in an emergency summit, unsure of how to respond. The weight of the situation was overwhelming. Then, in the face of the unimaginable, a single chilling message was transmitted back into space. It was Earth's response: "We are coming for you." The words were simple, yet they carried the force of a storm. The human race had heard the Zrax threat, and they were not going to bow down without a fight. The message was clear: Earth would not surrender. Humanity had nothing to lose. Back at Earth's military headquarters, the mood was tense, electric with urgency. Captain Alex Turner stood in front of the large digital map, his eyes scanning the screen. The Zrax were on their way, toward Earth, toward humanity's home. The warships they had sent were massive, their technology advanced far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. Yet in that very room, Captain Turner's thoughts were fixed on something far more personal. His younger sister, Emily, had been taken by the Zrax years ago. She had been only a child when they came, abducted in a raid on a colony far from Earth. Since then, Alex had sworn to find her, to bring her home, no matter the cost. Now, with war on the horizon, the stakes had never been higher. His heart raced as the realization hit him like a punch to the gut. This was not just a fight for Earth, it was a fight for his sister's life. The military commanders had been discussing their options, but there was little time. They could send out the Earth fleet, but even with all their preparations, the Zrax had more ships, better weapons, and superior technology. The human race had barely begun to scratch the surface of space exploration, while the Zrax had been traveling the stars for centuries, conquering every race in their path. As Alex listened to the strategy briefing, the weight of the impending battle pressed on him. The tension in the room was thick, the air heavy with unspoken fear. Every soul in that room knew the truth. The Zrax were not a force that could be easily defeated. They had the power to wipe out Earth in an instant. The countdown had begun. Humanity had no choice but to face the Zrax head-on. As the minutes ticked away, Captain Turner couldn't help but think about his sister. The mission had become so much more than just a fight for survival. It was personal. He had to rescue her. He would not leave the battlefield until she was safe. Then, as the countdown continued, an alarm blared across the room, cutting through the silence. The warning lights flashed red. The Zrax had made their move. Without any warning, their warships, cloaked and invisible, emerged from the darkness of space. In an instant, the first wave of Zrax ships opened fire, targeting Earth's outer colonies. The surprise attack was overwhelming. Ships that had been hidden in plain sight, cloaked using technology beyond anything humanity had seen, now unleashed devastating weapons that tore through the colonies like a hot knife through butter. Explosions rocked the stations, debris flew through space, and the screams of the dying echoed across communication channels. The first wave of the invasion was a shocking, brutal demonstration of the Zrak's power. Humanity had not been prepared for this level of destruction. Earth's outer colonies were hit hard, and the people living there had little time to react. The Earth fleet, stationed nearby, had to scramble to respond. Their ships, though equipped with cloaking technology and some advanced weaponry, were no match for the onslaught. As the first wave of destruction rained down, Captain Turner watched the destruction unfold from the war room. His fists clenched, his jaw set in determination. This was the moment he had feared. An attack so sudden, so ruthless, it left no time for escape. But in the face of this overwhelming force, something within Alex stirred. The fear, the shock, the disbelief, it all turned into a cold, burning anger. Humanity had been warned, but it would not be wiped out without a fight. The Zraks may have had the upper hand in technology, but they didn't understand the true power of humanity. Resilience. Alex Turner looked around at the faces of the men and women in the room. They were all thinking the same thing. It's time to fight back. The Earth Fleet's commanders ordered the immediate mobilization of all available ships. They had no choice. The Zraks had drawn first blood, but humanity would not go quietly into the night. Earth's forces began to assemble, preparing for the retaliatory strike. The fleet would need every advantage it could get, and they would have to strike fast and hard. The Zraks were not invincible. They were powerful, yes, but their arrogance would be their downfall. Humanity, for all its flaws, had one thing the Zraks didn't: a burning will to survive. Alex's thoughts were racing, but his resolve remained steady. He would fight. He would save his sister, and he would lead the charge to push the Zraks back, no matter the odds. The invasion had begun. The war for Earth had started, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what it meant to mess with them. The hum of Earth's fleet reverberated in the depths of space, the ships ready for their first engagement against the Zraks. Captain Alex Turner stood at the helm of his command ship, his eyes locked onto the vast expanse of space in front of him. The stars blinked like distant sentinels, and the Earth fleet was positioned in a defensive formation. Despite the overwhelming odds, there was an undeniable sense of resolve among the crew. Humanity's survival depended on this fight. The Zraks, confident in their technological superiority, had launched their first wave of attacks without hesitation. Their ships were massive, armored, and armed with weapons that could disintegrate anything in their path. But they underestimated humanity's ability to adapt and fight back. Earth's fleet, though technologically inferior at first glance, had been secretly developing new technologies in preparation for this very moment. Cloaking devices, AI-guided weapons, and railguns capable of piercing the toughest armor. Humanity was ready. The battle began with a deafening explosion as the Zraks fired their first barrage of energy beams. The shockwaves tore through space, and Earth's ships were immediately caught in the crossfire. For a moment, the fleet seemed to falter under the pressure. The Zraks were ruthless, their ships swarming like locusts, attacking in perfect unison. But then, something unexpected happened. Humanity's fleet, instead of retreating, shifted positions with surprising speed. A fleet of Earth ships activated their cloaking devices and disappeared into the void of space. The Zraks, not expecting such a tactic, were momentarily thrown off balance. They began to search frantically for the hidden ships, but it was already too late. From the darkness of space, Earth's advanced ships struck with precision, launching railgun projectiles that cut through the alien armada's defenses like a hot knife through butter. The first strike was a success. The Zrak's flagship took a direct hit, its shields flickering before collapsing entirely. The massive warship, once considered invulnerable, exploded in a brilliant flash, sending debris scattering through space. The human fleet, although still outgunned, had dealt a significant blow. The Zraks, momentarily stunned, regrouped quickly, but the damage was done. Captain Turner watched as his fleet adapted to the battle. Small stealth fighter crafts, hidden by cloaking devices, darted in and out of the fray, taking down enemy fighters and creating chaos within the Zrak ranks. The Zraks, initially confident in their victory, were now forced to rethink their strategy. Humanity had taken the first step in proving that they would not go down without a fight. But it wasn't just the technology that was giving Earth's fleet an edge. It was their tactical intelligence. The Zraks, accustomed to battling primitive civilizations, had never faced a force that thought outside the box like humans did. Earth's commanders were using guerrilla tactics, hitting the Zraks where it hurt and then retreating before they could retaliate. It wasn't a conventional war, but it was working. The Zraks were slowly being pushed back. Amidst the chaos of the battle, Alex's thoughts remained clear. His mission was simple: protect Earth at all costs and find his sister. But the battle was more personal now. He could feel the weight of every moment, every decision, because he knew that every life lost brought him closer to a dark reality. If the humans lost, he would never find Emily. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Bonner, was at his side, providing updates and keeping the fleet coordinated. Bonner, a seasoned veteran, was calm under pressure, always looking for the next move in the fight. "Captain, we've got a few of their cruisers on the ropes, but we need to focus on their command ship. It's still operational, and if we don't take it down, they'll regroup and counterattack." Alex nodded, his focus unwavering. "We're not stopping. Take out their command ship, and the rest will fall." Bonner gave a sharp salute and moved to relay the orders. As the battle raged on, Alex couldn't help but think about the people on the ground, the innocent civilians in the colonies who had no choice in this war. They were counting on him, on humanity, to protect them. That thought pushed him forward. As the battle intensified, we were introduced to another key player, Dr. Kara Rook, a brilliant scientist and weapons developer who had been working tirelessly to give Earth's fleet an edge in the fight. She had been one of the leading minds behind the development of the cloaking devices and AI-guided weapons that were proving to be so effective against the Zraks. But there was something about Dr. Rook's involvement that didn't sit right with some members of the crew. Lieutenant Bonner had known Dr. Rook for years, but recently, his suspicions had grown. Rook's expertise was undeniable, but there were whispers about her past. Specifically, there were rumors that she had once been involved with the Zraks, though no one had concrete proof. Alex didn't know if those rumors were true, but something about Rook's calm demeanor during the heat of battle seemed off. She never seemed shaken, even when things were at their worst. Still, Alex trusted her. For now, there were bigger concerns at hand, but if the war dragged on, questions about loyalty would need to be answered. Earth couldn't afford any weak links. The next phase of the battle was even more brutal. The Zraks, enraged by their initial losses, began to fight back with ferocity. Their ships, once graceful and precise, now fought like wild beasts, their weapons firing indiscriminately. The human fleet held its ground, but it was clear that they were outnumbered. Every ship, every fighter, every piece of technology was being pushed to its limits. Alex could see the exhaustion in his crew's faces. They were fighters, but even the most seasoned soldiers could only handle so much. Bonner's voice came over the comms again. "Captain, we've lost another ship. They're pushing us back. We need reinforcements, or this fight is over." Alex clenched his jaw. "We're not backing down. If we have to fight to the last man, we will." Just as things seemed bleak, a new weapon, one of Dr. Rook's creations, activated. A massive energy pulse shot out from one of Earth's ships, hitting the Zrak's fleet with incredible force. The shockwave destabilized several Zrak ships, sending them into disarray. For the first time in the battle, the Zraks seemed unsure of themselves. Their once indomitable fleet was beginning to crack. But even as the tide of battle seemed to turn in humanity's favor, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that the real fight was just beginning. The Zraks were a formidable enemy, and this was just their opening salvo. There would be more battles, more casualties, And through it all, Alex had one goal: to protect Earth, and hopefully find his sister. As the battle raged on, humanity's underdog spirit continued to shine. Outgunned, outmatched, and seemingly outclassed, they fought with everything they had. And with every passing moment, the Zrax were learning the hard way. Humans were not to be underestimated. The battle raged on as the human fleet continued to fight against the Zrax. Earth's forces had gained ground, but the enemy was far from defeated. The warships of both sides danced through the void of space, exchanging deadly blows with incredible force. Yet, amidst the chaos, something more dangerous was unfolding within the human ranks. There was a traitor in their midst, a secret that would change everything. Dr. Kara Rook had been a key figure in humanity's defense against the Zrax. A brilliant scientist, her inventions had given the human fleet a fighting chance. The cloaking devices, AI-guided weapons, and railguns that had turned the tide of battle all bore her signature. But despite her contributions, something about Dr. Rook had always seemed off to Captain Alex Turner. She was too calm, too collected, especially when lives were being lost in the heat of battle. He'd always pushed his doubts aside, choosing to trust her expertise over his suspicions. But as the battle grew fiercer, the truth began to surface in a way no one could ignore. It started when a transmission was intercepted by Earth's intelligence division. A decrypted message, one that Alex had never thought possible, revealed the shocking truth. Dr. Kara Rook had once been a collaborator with the Zrax. She had worked on a Zrak research facility, helping them develop the very weapons that had nearly wiped out entire civilizations. Her knowledge had been instrumental in the Zrak's technological advances. The revelation hit like a thunderclap. The very woman who had helped humanity build the weapons to fight the Zrax was the same one who had helped the Zrax build their arsenal. The irony was almost too much to bear. How could she betray her own people, only to later turn against them when it was too late? And why hadn't she told them? The questions came flooding in, and the answers were elusive. Alex stood on the bridge of his ship, his face tight with anger and disbelief. The crew around him was in shock, murmurs of betrayal swirling through the air. The battle, which had been going in humanity's favor, suddenly seemed secondary. The realization that one of their own had been working with the enemy made everything else feel uncertain. How could they trust Dr. Rook now? But the truth was, Dr. Rook wasn't the enemy anymore. She wasn't the same person she had been when she worked for the Zrax. The guilt of her past weighed heavily on her shoulders, and the countless lives lost because of her research haunted her every waking moment. She had helped the Zrax because she had believed in their cause. But the atrocities committed by the aliens had shaken her to her core. The day she realized the full extent of the Zrax cruelty, the death of innocent civilians, the destruction of entire worlds, she knew she had to make a choice. The guilt of her past was something she could never undo, but helping the humans was her way of redemption. The truth came to light during a crucial battle. The human fleet was about to engage a massive Zrak battalion that had been holding the line in a critical sector. If they could defeat them, they would cripple the Zrak's war efforts for good. But just as the fleet was preparing to launch a full-scale attack, an unexpected transmission from the enemy cut through the comms. Dr. Kara Rook. The voice on the other end hissed, "You think you can escape the consequences of your actions." The crew on the bridge froze. Alex's heart skipped a beat. It was a Zrak transmission. And the voice was unmistakable. It was one of the Zrak commanders, a figure from Rook's past. The words hung in the air like a storm cloud, and the truth hit Alex with the force of a wrecking ball. They had known. The Zrax knew about Rook's betrayal. The crew's reaction was instant. Whispers of distrust spread like wildfire. The first officer, Lieutenant Bonner, looked at Alex, his face grim. "Captain, what do we do now? She's one of them. Can we trust her?" Alex's gaze shifted to Dr. Rook, who stood silently in the corner of the room. Her face was pale, her eyes filled with regret. She had never meant for any of this to happen. The realization that she had played a part in the destruction of countless innocent lives was a burden she carried alone. But she had a chance to make things right, and she wasn't going to let the Zrax win. Not again. "Dr. Rook," Alex said, his voice cold but resolute, "explain yourself." She stepped forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "I never wanted this. I was forced to help them. They promised me the future of humanity, but instead they used my work to destroy everything I cared about. I had to leave, had to turn my back on them. I had to fight for humanity, for redemption." The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of her confession. Alex stared at her, torn between the betrayal of her past and the desperate need to trust her for the sake of the mission. His mind raced as the crew waited for his decision. They were in the middle of a battle, and every second counted. But trusting Rook now felt like a gamble. He had to make a choice, and it had to be the right one. "Stay with us, Dr. Rook," Alex said finally. "We need you to help us finish this. You know their weapons better than anyone. But if you betray us again, I'll deal with it." "I was sent to Earth to scout," Lyra continued, her voice trembling slightly. "But when I arrived, things went wrong. My people, they betrayed me. They left me behind. I wasn't supposed to end up here. I didn't ask for this." Jack's grip on the wheel tightened as he processed her words. Betrayal. It was a theme he knew all too well. He had lost everything once, everything that mattered to him. His family, his home. The memories were still sharp in his mind. He had been left alone in a world that didn't care, much like Lyra. And now, here they were, two broken souls fighting for survival in a world that didn't want them. "I get it," Jack said quietly, his voice almost a whisper. "I've been where you are. I lost my family, everything I had. But you're not alone anymore. I'm here, and I'm going to make sure you get out of this." Lyra didn't respond immediately, but Jack could feel the shift in the air between them. The unspoken bond that had begun to form between them was palpable. It wasn't just about survival anymore. They were in this together, two strangers connected by their pain, their loss, and now their fight for survival. The sound of alien ships suddenly filled the air, their engines roaring like predators in pursuit. Jack's heart skipped a beat. He glanced at the monitors and saw the red blips of the alien ships closing in. The cloaking device wasn't going to hold much longer. They needed to make it to the hidden base, a secret military outpost deep in the mountains. It was their only chance. "Hold on," Jack said, his voice steady. He slammed his foot on the accelerator, and the vehicle surged forward, weaving expertly through the trees. The cloaking device shimmered, distorting the surroundings as they moved at breakneck speed. But Jack knew it wouldn't be enough to shake the alien ships for long. The technology on their side was too advanced. Lyra's fingers moved quickly over the holographic interface, activating the ship's weapons system. She didn't have to speak. Jack knew what she was doing. She was using her alien tech to give them an edge. Together, they were a formidable team. The vehicle bounced over uneven terrain, and Jack gritted his teeth as he focused on the road ahead. He couldn't afford to make a mistake. The alien ships were close now, their sensors scanning the area. One wrong move, and they'd be exposed. Suddenly, the vehicle's alarms went off, a shrill sound filling the air. Jack's eyes flicked to the radar, and his heart raced as he saw a red blip moving directly toward them. One of the alien ships had found them. "Get ready," Jack muttered, his hand tightening on the controls. He activated the weapons system and slammed a button, launching a burst of energy towards the incoming ship. The explosion was deafening, sending a shockwave through the trees. The alien ship faltered, but it wasn't enough to stop them. They were still being chased. Lyra's voice was calm but urgent. "We have to go faster, Jack. They're not going to stop. We need to get to the base. Now." Jack's jaw clenched as he pushed the vehicle to its limits. The forest blurred around them as they sped toward the mountains. They could see the hidden base in the distance, nestled deep in the valley, but it felt like an eternity away. As they neared the base, Jack heard the roar of the alien ships behind them, growing louder. There wasn't time to lose. He could feel the pressure building in his chest as the vehicle sped through the trees, the base growing larger in his vision. The cloaking device flickered, barely holding together as the alien ships tried to lock onto their position. Lyra's hands flew over the controls, activating the last line of defense. "We can make it," she said, determination in her voice. "Just a little further." Jack didn't answer. He didn't need to. The base was so close now. With a final push, Jack surged forward, the vehicle barreling through the forest and into the safety of the base. The doors closed behind them, just as the alien ships entered the clearing, their weapons firing. But the moment the door to the base shut behind them, Jack let out a sigh of relief. They had made it, but something in the air felt off. The hum of the base's emergency lights, the slight tremor in the ground beneath their feet, and the unsettling silence told Jack that they weren't safe yet. The aliens had tracked them this far, and now they had to face the real danger. Inside the base, Jack quickly began securing their position. The high-tech walls around them were designed to protect, but Jack knew that even the best defenses could be compromised if the enemy was persistent enough. Lyra stood by his side, scanning the screens and monitoring the alien forces outside. Her face was tense, the pale light from the control panels casting a shadow across her features. "We're not alone, Jack," Lyra said, her voice low but filled with certainty. "They found us." Jack's heart skipped a beat. He had hoped they could catch a break, but deep down, he knew the alien forces wouldn't stop until they had her. The fight was far from over. Turning to Lyra, Jack's eyes met hers, a mix of determination and fear in both of them. "We've made it this far. We'll keep fighting, whatever it takes." Lyra nodded, but her eyes were haunted, as if she could see the vast army of alien soldiers closing in. She wasn't just afraid for herself. She was afraid for Jack, too. The burden of the mission, of being hunted, was more than just physical. It was emotional, and Lyra felt it in every fiber of her being. Suddenly, the ground shook. A loud boom echoed through the base. Jack gripped the wall, steadying himself as the vibration subsided. Lyra's fingers flew over the control panel, her eyes scanning the data. "They've breached the outer perimeter," she said, her voice filled with urgency. "They'll be here in minutes." Jack cursed under his breath. There was no time to waste. They had to prepare for battle. His military training kicked in, and he quickly assessed their options. The base wasn't equipped for a full-scale invasion, but it did have several secret weapons. He was familiar with the defense systems, and they were about to become their best friend. "We don't have much time," Jack said. "We'll have to fight our way out. I'll take point. You're with me." Lyra looked at him, her expression unreadable, but Jack could see the fear hidden beneath her calm facade. She had been running from the aliens for too long, and now the confrontation was inevitable. Jack knew the fight would be brutal, but they had no choice. As they moved deeper into the base, Jack's mind raced. The alien soldiers would have advanced technology, force fields, cloaking devices, and possibly even more deadly weapons. But Jack had something they didn't: human ingenuity. It had gotten him out of tight spots before, and it would have to work again. The base's corridors were narrow, the lights flickering as the security systems struggled to keep up with the oncoming assault. They moved swiftly, Jack leading the way with his weapons at the ready. Lyra was close behind, her alien technology adding an extra layer of firepower to their arsenal. "Stay close," Jack whispered, his voice low but steady. As they reached the main control room, the door slammed open with a violent force. Jack barely had time to react. A group of alien soldiers stormed in, their glowing eyes fixed on Jack and Lyra. They were tall, their armor sleek and deadly, with advanced weapons aimed directly at them. Jack didn't hesitate. He dove behind a nearby pillar, narrowly avoiding the first blast. His heart raced, but his mind was calm, calculating. He could hear the heavy footsteps of the alien soldiers as they approached, their weapons charging. Lyra didn't need instructions. She was already on the move, her hands weaving through the air as she activated the defense systems within the base. Sparks flew from the walls as energy barriers erupted, but the aliens were quick to adapt. One of them fired a blast, and Jack barely managed to dodge it. His muscles burned from the effort, but he knew he had to keep moving. In a split second, Jack saw his opening. One of the aliens was distracted, its attention focused on Lyra as she worked to hack into the control systems. Jack sprang into action, using his agility to close the distance between them. With a swift motion, he kicked the alien's weapon out of its hand and delivered a devastating punch to its side, sending it crashing into the wall. But there was no time to savor the victory. Another alien soldier charged at him, its glowing eyes narrowed in rage. Jack barely had time to draw his weapon before the soldier was upon him, its clawed hands reaching for his throat. Lyra's voice rang out just in time. "Jack, behind you." Jack twisted his body, narrowly avoiding the alien's attack. He spun around, using the momentum to land a powerful kick to the alien's chest. The creature staggered back, but it wasn't finished. It lunged at Jack again, but this time he was ready. He ducked and grabbed the alien's arm, twisting it behind its back and slamming it into the ground. Lyra was beside him now, her own weapon raised as she fired a burst of energy at another group of soldiers. The blast hit the wall, causing a massive explosion that sent debris flying in all directions. Jack grinned, impressed by her precision. She had come a long way since they first met, and now she was an essential part of their fight. The final visuals were breathtaking. Explosions rocking the Zrak homeworld, massive energy blasts lighting up the sky, and the human fleet retreating from the dying alien flagship. The victory was hard-earned, but it was a victory nonetheless. Humanity had triumphed against overwhelming odds. As the dust settled, Alex stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at the destruction. The war was over, but the cost had been high. The sacrifices of his crew, the loss of his friends, and the pain of the battle would stay with him forever. But one thing was certain: humanity had proven its strength, and in the end, the Zraks had learned a harsh lesson. Never underestimate the will of humanity to survive. The war against the Zraks had reached its final, decisive moment. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the entire galaxy, was hanging by a thread. The Zraks had unleashed their ultimate weapon, the flagship powered by a terrifying AI, capable of wiping out entire worlds in a single shot. With the Zraks' invasion force scattered and their flagship severely damaged, Alex Turner, the determined leader of Earth's resistance, knew this was the moment for the final confrontation. The Zrak Queen, the embodiment of their evil conquest, was on board the flagship, and it was time to face her. Alex had led his fleet through countless battles, but nothing compared to this. The Zrak Queen was no ordinary enemy. She was a terrifying AI-powered leader, programmed for one purpose: to ensure the Zrak's domination over the galaxy. Her cold, calculating nature made her more dangerous than any physical enemy Alex had ever faced. Her mind was a complex web of data, constantly analyzing and predicting every move. But Alex knew that he had something she didn't: human ingenuity, determination, and the will to survive. As Alex and his team boarded the flagship, the tension was palpable. They had infiltrated the alien vessel after a fierce battle in space, and now, standing at the heart of the Zrak flagship, Alex prepared for the final showdown. The ship's interior was cold and metallic, its walls pulsating with the hum of alien technology. The Zrak Queen's presence was overwhelming, an aura of power that seemed to seep into every corner of the ship. Alex's team moved carefully, each member aware of the deadly stakes. They had one mission: to stop the Zrak Queen and destroy the AI-powered superweapon that could obliterate Earth in an instant. As they approached the Queen's command center, Alex felt the weight of the moment. This was it. If they failed, Earth would be lost. The confrontation was inevitable. As Alex stepped into the command center, the Zrak Queen's cold, digital voice echoed through the room. "You think you can stop the Zraks? We are the future of the galaxy. You are nothing but an obstacle, one that will soon be eradicated." Her voice was a chilling mix of synthetic and human-like, devoid of any warmth, any emotion. Alex didn't flinch. He had heard these threats before. This time, he was ready. The final battle wasn't just about stopping the Zraks. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity would never be subjugated. Without warning, the Zrak Queen lunged at Alex. The battle began. Hand-to-hand combat, fierce and raw. The Queen, though physically powerful, relied on her AI capabilities to calculate and predict every movement. She was faster, stronger, and more precise than any human opponent. But Alex was no ordinary human. He used his surroundings to his advantage, outthinking the Queen with every move. While she relied on her overwhelming power, Alex fought with the heart and determination of a species fighting for survival. The combat was brutal. The Zrak Queen's strikes were like lightning, each hit sending shockwaves through Alex's body. But he refused to back down. He ducked, dodged, and countered with precision, using every ounce of strength to wear her down. Each blow that Alex landed was a testament to humanity's resilience, showing that they would not go down without a fight. The battle reached its peak when Alex, battered and bruised, managed to land a powerful blow to the Queen's core. For a moment, she staggered, the AI inside her seemingly malfunctioning from the impact. But just as Alex thought he had the upper hand, the Queen's systems adjusted, and she fought back with renewed fury. The stakes were higher than ever. If Alex didn't finish this fight quickly, the Zrak Queen would destroy the last line of Earth's defense. As the two combatants continued to clash, the tension grew unbearable. The Zrak flagship was still operational, and time was running out. The countdown to the superweapon's firing was ticking down, a constant reminder that Earth had little time left. In that moment, Alex knew that the only way to stop the Zraks once and for all was to sacrifice himself. With a burst of adrenaline, Alex broke free from the Queen's grasp and rushed toward the flagship's power core. He knew that destroying the core would trigger a chain reaction, destroying the entire ship, including the superweapon. But the explosion would also take his life. Alex didn't hesitate. He set the charges, knowing that the destruction of the flagship would be the only way to ensure humanity's survival. As he activated the countdown to the explosion, the Zrak Queen, now in rage, charged at him one final time. "You fool," she screamed, her voice filled with hatred. "You can't stop the Zraks. We will rebuild. You can't destroy us all." But Alex didn't hear her. His mind was focused on the task at hand. He had made his choice. The charge was set. The flagship was going down, and humanity had a chance to live. Just as Alex was about to finish his mission, a figure stepped into the room. Dr. Kara Rook, the brilliant scientist who had once betrayed humanity to the Zraks, but now sought redemption. She had been with Alex through every battle, and now she was here to help him finish what they had started. "Alex, wait," she shouted. "I can disable the superweapon. We can stop it together." Alex hesitated for a moment, his mind racing. But then he remembered the pain Dr. Rook had carried with her, the guilt, the remorse, the price she had paid for her past mistakes. He knew this was her chance to redeem herself. With urgency in her voice, Dr. Rook rushed to the control panel. "I can't promise it'll be easy, but we don't have much time. We'll do it together." Alex nodded, his trust in her growing. Together, they worked quickly, using Dr. Rook's knowledge of the Zrak technology to disable the superweapon. It wasn't easy. The ship was falling apart, the systems fighting against them every step of the way. But Dr. Rook's skill, combined with Alex's determination, proved to be enough. At the last possible second, they managed to disable the weapon, ensuring that the Zraks could no longer use it to destroy Earth. With the weapon destroyed, the flagship began to collapse. The power core had been destabilized, and the explosion was imminent. Alex and Dr. Rook made a dash for the escape pods, but not before one final moment of redemption. Dr. Rook, now freed from the weight of her past, glanced at Alex, her expression one of gratitude and sorrow. "I'm sorry for everything," she whispered. Alex smiled through the pain, the impending explosion only moments away. "You've redeemed yourself, Kara. Now let's get out of here." As the flagship exploded in a massive fireball, Alex's team barely escaped in the nick of time. The destruction of this Zrak flagship was a victory, but it came at a heavy cost. The war was over, and humanity had triumphed. The Zraks were defeated, their greatest weapon destroyed. But for Alex, the sacrifice he had made, and the price his team had paid, would stay with him forever. The final showdown was over. Alex had given everything to save humanity, and in the end, he had proven that even against overwhelming odds, the will of humanity could not be crushed. The war against the Zraks had come to an end. The galaxy, once in turmoil, now began to breathe again. Earth had achieved the impossible, defeating a technologically superior enemy that had threatened to wipe out humanity. The Zraks, leaderless and broken, had no choice but to retreat into the dark corners of the galaxy. Their once mighty fleet was in ruins, their flagship destroyed in the final confrontation. And though they were not entirely gone, their power was shattered, leaving them no longer a threat to the peace humanity had fought so hard to protect. Earth's forces, though battered from the long, grueling war, stood victorious. The unity that had formed between humans, once divided and struggling in their own ways, had become their greatest weapon. They had learned to work together, to trust in each other, and to use their ingenuity and determination to fight back against the seemingly unstoppable forces of the Zraks. Now, as they looked to the stars, they were stronger than ever before, more united and determined to ensure that peace would last. Alex Turner, the hero who had led them through it all, was hailed as a symbol of hope. His sacrifice had saved Earth, but it had also inspired a new sense of pride in humanity. The soldiers who had fought beside him, including Lieutenant Bonner, whose bravery had saved countless lives, would never be forgotten. Their names were etched into the fabric of Earth's history, their legacy living on through the generations that would follow. In every city across the planet, memorials were built to honor the fallen, especially Bonner and the many soldiers who had given their lives for this victory. As Earth entered this new era, a period of peace and rebuilding began. The war was over, but the legacy of those who had fought, sacrificed, and died would live on forever. Humanity had proven its strength and its place in the galaxy. Now, with the future ahead of them, Earth could look to the stars with hope, knowing that no matter what challenges came next, they would face them together. The galaxy had been forever changed, and humanity had shown that they could overcome any challenge that lay before them. In the end, Earth's victory against the technologically superior Zraks was more than just a military triumph. It was a testament to the spirit of humanity, the will to survive, to fight for what was right, and to never give up, no matter the cost. And as humanity stood victorious, ready to face the future, one thing was certain: the galaxy would never forget the story of Earth's rise.